The purpose of these videos is to orient you to what components look like and how you act on them. If you haven't watched the Watch Me First video, please do that first, as it lets you know what to expect. As you read in Chapter 5, the ATLAS.ti interface consists of 4 areas. First are the navigators, which let you move around the parts of a project. Second is the workspace, the central area which you can customize to suit your preferences. Third are the menu tabs, which display the relevant ribbons or toolbars. And finally are the floating windows, which are an alternative way of seeing the lists of components. We'll start with the default layout of the screen and then show you the ways it can be customized to suit your preferences. When you open a project, the Home tab is selected, which allows you to access the navigators and the lists of components. The central workspace is initially empty until you open something. And it automatically opens one of the navigators, called the Explorer. So let's start there. You can access the navigators from this button here, and you can see there are 2 sets of navigators. The Explorers, which are organized as trees, and the Browsers, which are simple lists. The program initially opens the main Explorer, called the Project Explorer. You can see that the Explorer has the main components, and these little white triangles next to them allow you to open up the branches of the tree. So now I'm seeing all the documents, and I can open a document into the central area. And for any document, you can open up its next branch and see the entire list of quotations for that document. And the triangles allow you to again open up what is associated with each quotation. In this case, it's a code, and that again has a triangle, so I can see that there are 2 other codes attached to that code. So in this way, you can navigate through the whole project. You can open up the list of codes and work from there. You can open up the list of memos and so on. In theory, you could navigate through the entire project by just working from this one Explorer tree. But that can be a little cumbersome or linear, so typically you open up additional browsers or simple lists of the components. I'll go back to the Home tab and back to the Navigator button, and I can open up the list of documents, and it comes in as a new tab. I can similarly open the codes and the memos, and each one appears as its own tab. Now there are more tabs than we can see across the top, so this little sideways arrow here allows us to bring to view any that are not visible. And this downward facing tab allows us to move one of the tabs to the right side. So you can have some listings on the right and some on the left, and you can organize your screen to suit your preferences. You may want to move all of them to the right, so you just see the document on the left. Or you may choose to have just the Explorer on the left, and then the text in the middle, and all the other listings of components on the right. The workspace in the center is similarly flexible. I might open a second document, so I can be working and comparing 2 documents at the same time, and I can use these tabs to go back and forth between them. But there is a downward triangle there, which allows you to organize the screen in a different way. I can open this document and put it in a new tab group to the right. So rather than having both documents in one group and go back and forward between them, you can see here 2 separate tab groups. On the left I have one document, and on the right I have another document. And you can open any number of these tab groups depending on the size of your screen and how you like to work in a particular project. There's a third way to show lists of components, and that is through what are called the managers. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab, and you can see here the managers, one for each of the main components. For example, I can open the code list, and it opens as a floating sizable manager, which you could move around. If you have a very large screen, you could have this as a separate window, or you can have it here within this window. And you can open any of the main components, documents, quotations, codes, memos, and networks, as a movable window. And in this manager, you see all the menu items associated with that component. But here, this little button allows you to dock this window into the workspace. Here, it's docked it as a tab in the right-hand tab group. And so now I can go back and forward between this document and the code manager. Similarly, I can return to the home menu and I can go to the list of documents. And in this case, it went straight into the tab group rather than opening as a floating window, because the last time I had used the document manager, I had docked it in this tab group, so it knew that perhaps I liked to have it there, so it goes back. Each of these tabs has a downward arrow, allowing you to float it, or using that button there to send it back into the tab group. It's fine to set up your browsers and managers just as you want them for each work session, but you can also set preferences so that a project will open just as you want it. You simply go to File, Options, and then ask for Project Preferences, and you can tell Atlas when opening projects which lists and managers to automatically open, or to never open, or to just do what it did last time you used this project. And similarly, whether to keep the lists and the managers docked or floating, or just as you had them the last time you opened the project. This is very convenient if you develop a standard way of working. Finally, are the menu tabs and their associated ribbons. Every time a particular component's window is live, its associated ribbon and menu items becomes available. So here the document is live, and so you can see here all the menu items associated with documents. If I was to move to the code manager, now the code menus have become alive. If I go over to this document, now all the menu items associated with documents have become available. So as you can see, the ATLAS.ti interface is designed for flexibility. You can have your lists of components on the left or the right, and you can display items as floating windows and work with them from there. At different parts of different projects, different configurations of the component lists and the documents will suit you best.